Yeah, welcome to Village Rising, virtual info series celebrating our ancestors through the evolution of music and culture from Africa to Congo Square and beyond. I'm pleased to have as our first inaugural guest, the one and only Big Chief Donald Harrison. Welcome, Donald Harrison. Man, it's a pleasure to have you and to speak on this subject. Which I'm very, very adamant about preserving the culture of New Orleans. So thank you.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and thank you for doing this series. It's something that's necessary to maintain the continuum.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Let's get right into it. How did you, starting out early, in your childhood, what were some of the things that you saw that kind of guided you in this direction from an early age?
Well, I mean, when I was little, I just had experiences and experiences in the culture because my father was a chief.
Right.
So that's been around me my entire life.
Exactly.
And my father was the person who took me to the second lines every Sunday. So I had both of those experiences really from the time I can remember anything, going to second lines and hearing the bands and dancing to it. But also at home, we had an eclectic listening palette from my parents, and we listened to all kind of music, from jazz, all eras of jazz, really, and classical music and stuff from like the UNESCO series, the African music, the Ravi Shankar, country music, R&B, James Brown, all of the things, from just many types of music, Broadway music,
yeah, that's something else, and we want to talk because your father was a chief as well,
right?
So we that part I just want people to understand that as well. So
okay, well, he's what I call an old time chief, in that he had a lot of different perspectives on the culture, and he had what I call pristine enunciation and understanding of the meanings of the culture and the words and things that you do inside the culture. When I started meeting the older gentlemen, when I was an older person, I realized that he always sounded just like those guys. They had a particular way. And the culture, there's different lines. Everybody, it's just like jazz music, jazz music, you got fusion, you got straight ahead, you got all these different factions. And they're all relevant. So it's, even inside the culture, there's things that are very similar that come from African culture and music, and also some things from Native American culture. But my father teaching me some stuff that came from Congo Square, and then the older chiefs teaching me some stuff as well. I wanted to focus what I do on Congo Square and honoring the people there who kept the link to antiquity alive.
Yeah,
that we still have today. We in New Orleans, there's some people who know what it is, and some people who understand what it is. but it lives inside of all of us, whether we have that perspective either or not. You know, when you listen to people in the culture doing call and response chants, and you listen to the African drumming, you know that it has continued. And when you see a second line, and you see the dancing and hear the rhythms of the music, you know it has continued. So New Orleans is a special place. Like I said, I'm keeping that tradition of Congo Square alive, where people of African descent were allowed to continue their culture from wherever they were from. They could gather with the people from their culture and do what they did in Africa. That's a very unique situation that happened in America. And I call what happened there the root contributor to a lot of American music and a lot of the world's music.
Mhm.
But also the same thing has happened with the brass bands and the second line culture in New Orleans jazz. There's certain bands that are connected to antiquity. You know, when you listen to them, you say, oh, they still have the things that came from Africa in this sound. And there were also some bands in the 20s that had a different sound, so we don't want to negate them, but they didn't have the, you know,
Mhm.
like the original, I think, what's the name of the band? Original Dixieland.
Yeah.
The band I recorded first, there's no traces of Africa, and I don't hear the direct connection to Africa in
Exactly.
their band. I'm not. It's a different way of looking at it
Yeah.
because it's a different culture, you know.
Yeah.
So as a chief, I know that they're not connected to the African source. So
Right.
there's two ways to look at it, you know. The people that are connected to it and the people who came up with another sound.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we still have the African connection in the culture and second line, and it forms almost all of the music that we have in New Orleans.
Yes.
That come from the African American perspective.
Yes. You have that lineage in your playing. You are one of few people who have the whole continuum, who I can hear in the playing, has that whole continuum from start to finish, from beginning to end. And I think Wayne Shorter has a little bit of that too, just a little bit of that. But I think you more so, especially from the New Orleans thing, that went actually nationally and globally and back. So it came from Africa and back into New Orleans, and then New Orleans, Afro New Orleans shaped African American music. To me, I mean, I'm gathering this and then seeing the influence. Talk to us about the influence of African American, Afro New Orleans, but also to a greater degree African American music globally.
Well, you know, it's I always say that all music is relevant and relative to the people who are doing it. But with the music that came from Congo Square, you know, there's things that people who live in that culture, when there's not many left. It's most of the guys from the 20s who had that kind of perspective. You could hear it in their music, you know, but it's still alive in the music, but the consciousness of what it is, it's not alive anymore. but we still do it. You know, I call it bush music. You know, that even when you see kids dancing to hip hop music, you can see the source of it. I mean, it's easy to see that it's not a source from, say, Jakarta or something like that. You can see, if you have any understanding, you can see that it's African based. So it's something that's in us that has continued, and it's the wonderful thing about it is it's transcendent. So when you transcendent feeling is the ultimate feeling of freedom. Music is freedom and joy, and it's connected to the universe. So if you're dancing and you're listening to this music, it takes you away. It gives you freedom, no matter who you are. And I think that's the thing that made it so popular when people in other societies heard it. Mm-hmm. They felt that freedom, you know, that it could take you away. And that was necessary for us because we needed a place to be transferred from, and we still need a place to be transferred. So,
you're definitely right.
But well, we're still trying to find a beautiful existence in the normal world. But you go into transcendence with the music, and I can look at you playing piano with your eyes closed, and I know you're going there, even though you have a subconscious and subconscious connection to what's going around you with the music. It's still transferred to another place, and once you get that feeling of that transcendence, that freedom, that ultimate joy, you got to come back to that. That's why people keep running back to that music. Why they keep running back to New Orleans. Why they keep running back to James Brown, running back to Ella Fitzgerald, because they're giving them the ultimate transcendence. And music can do that for you. And it's especially the transcendental nature of African music. And that's in all the music that we play.
Yeah.
Even the other bands who may not have be of African descent, they're still connected to us. So we're like the electricity that connected the world. You know, the wires that African music connected the world, and it's making us all what I call brothers in a certain sense and human beings. So that's the beauty we need to look at. That we can take that, and everybody, no matter where you're from, they can interpret it their way, and it's all relevant. And we must give the homage and love to the people who brought this into being. We must also talk about the tremendous sacrifice that was placed on their lives that brought this into being. They're really heroes, and the thing about that is, it helped us to be here today and to have some what I call some kind of sanity.
Yeah. You know what? You mentioned that, and I want to make a point on that, because I don't see a lot of young musicians actually paying homage and actually doing explorations of older musicians. When we came up, it was like, you know, we respected our elders. The elders, there was a certain lineage you had to follow, you know, and the knowledge was actually handed down as though they were notebooks, like in Africa. The knowledge, the musical knowledge was handed down just like the spoken word and the general knowledge. So I think today academia has its upswing, and then it actually crushes the main element of getting the music out. So talk to us a little bit about that, academia versus the actual, you know, soul and, you know, of the music.
Well, I always go back to what Bird said, and it was profound to me to hear it in high school. If you didn't live it, it won't come out of your heart. So, you know, with this music, you have to live it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go to those places and be with the people who created it to be part of that continuum. Now, the young musicians, they've come along, and the reverence of what these great artists did before us is not there anymore. You know, the press doesn't talk about them, and maybe there's not as many opportunities. So many young musicians who are being taught in college. So there's just in terms of logic, there's not as many opportunities for them to be around these great musicians, and a lot of them unfortunately have left this plane. So there's no opportunity for them. So they have to figure out another way, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes maybe they get confused. Well, I won't say confused. They just don't have the same reverence,
Right,
for the people that we came up listening to, because they were there for us, you know. I know you played with a lot of great people. I've played with so many masters. At this time in my life, it's mind-boggling how many people I came into contact with.
it certainly.
I learned.
I look at. I wonder how much, man, the energy that you have consistently, you know, to deal with a lot of different genres of music, different masters. You know, of course, you know, first of all, we can start with New Orleans. We talking about Alvin Baptiste, and you know, that was one of the main cats, and Kid and all of those people. But as you went along, the Art Blakey's and the Eddie Palmieri's, you know, Ron Carter. I mean, we could just go on and on, man. I mean, just how you have that amount of energy to deal with those things, man, is just that's mind-boggling in itself.
Yeah, it's a lot of, you know, when you play with all these great musicians, you better go home and think about it. For me, I'll put it like this. For me, I knew I had to go home and think about every note that we played that night. I had to try to remember what happened, you know, and go home and think about all the lessons that were passed down. Because each night is a different lesson. You know, each night, if you come back and with those guys, if you know what was going down one night, the next night is a different lesson. So, yeah. Then you have to put all of that, try to store that inside of you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then, you know, if you get a little break, you have to think about that stuff all the time. There's no, you know, I still have to think about all the stuff I learned from Ron, still putting it together, still putting the stuff together I learned from Art Blakey. But it goes back to Bird, what Bird said, if you don't live it, won't come out your heart. So I have these lessons inside of me. I have the understanding of what it feels like when art is pushing you, when art making is pushing you.
Right.
So I can, no matter who I'm playing with, I can pull that up. I can just go, I can go back in my memory bank, you know, either subconsciously or consciously. All those, I don't even know how many lessons over a 40-year period,
Yeah.
playing with over 200 masters,
Yeah.
jazz and other styles of music. All that stuff, it lives inside me. The older I get, the more and more I see it. Right now, I'm playing with a great group called the Cookers. And mostly everybody is 80 years old.
Yeah.
And these guys are the post-train and post-miles generation, post-free jazz generation. Because they were actually there. And on train, some of them saw Bird, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So to play with those gentlemen is they're an incredible depository of the history of this music, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like playing the music from the late 60s. That was before and after the late 60s. These guys were the next generation that got to play with everybody. So it's like another finishing school.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they all have adopted me and shown me so much every night. You know, just George Cable's showed me all these different ways to look at all of it.
Yeah, man.
And playing his songs, which have he was one of the first guys to have playing for me straight ahead music that had that soul underpinnings in the melodies and the rhythms and the bass line. So you know, Billy Hopper, man, the great songs that he's written.
Yeah.
Harmonic things that you say, oh, that shouldn't make sense. He's playing C minor, but he's playing C sharp major. But he put it together and it makes sense. And it's such a beautiful sound.
Yeah.
You know, and the rhythm is just, it's just free, man. He can write in the way.
Right.
Where the rhythm is there, but it's totally free at the same time. But you had to play that stuff, and you start seeing how these guys are really masters who transcend the rules of music.
Yeah.
And created stuff that is, you know, you have to really study it to get a chance to play with those guys every night.
Oh yeah.
Figure out your place in it.
Oh yeah.
And then when you start writing, then all of that stuff is there, man.
Yeah, it's assimilated inside.
Right.
But yeah, that's interesting because you know the stage with those kind of cats, the stage always levitates, man. It feels like the stage is just rising. You know, it was one time I like to tell everybody I saw Alice Coltrane with George Coleman, Roy Haynes on drums in the tent, in the jazz tent in New Orleans, and Buster Williams. And man, I could have sworn if you close your eyes, Alice Coltrane sounded like she was channeling Train on organ. I mean, it was just amazing. It was just amazing. So I know those moments, you know, those moments, man. And you've had a lot of those levitating moments in your experience. I want you to talk a little bit about now. You know, we know that you dealing with that constantly. I know you always in the laboratory dealing with something. But talk a little. We know about New York Second Line. We know that. Talk about the next level of your invention, and that's Nouveau Swing.
Yeah, really, Nouveau Swing is record I made called Indian Blues was a watershed moment. And that came about because I was out on Mardi Gras with my father, and we were doing, Shallow Water on Mama, one of the old time chants. And all of a sudden, I'm listening to the drums, and I'm hearing, oh, Art Blakey fits in this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Duke, all this stuff is the same thing.
Yeah.
So then I go make a record, and if you listen at the what I told Carl Allen, I said, this, play all these New Orleans rhythm with your bass drum and your hi-hat and your snare drum, and you can put some bebop in there too, but just ride on the ride cymbal. We're gonna swing on it.
Yeah.
So after I did that, then when I started hearing music, I'm like, oh, you can swing on funk too. You can swing on any type of music because they're both the same thing.
Yeah.
And then I started talking and asking questions, and I realized that the same rhythms that we play were on those early records in the 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had another revelation, and my wife heard this. Louis Armstrong was singing, and he started singing like a chant. And my wife said, oh, he's singing the stuff you sing. I said, no, I'm singing the stuff he sings. But it was, for me, it was a clue. Louis knew this too, man. And I started listening at the trumpet, the way trumpets play in New Orleans music.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to figure it out. And the only thing that I hear that's like the trumpet is when a big chief sings. It's the same rhythm, the same blues notes. There's nothing else in no other music that I hear.
Mm-hmm.
Like right. It's Mardi Gras morning and the sun come up. You hear the trumpet. That's the same thing that the trumpeters play, man.
Yeah.
And saxophonists play a lot of, in that era, they play a lot of arpeggiated things, but they still have some of that in them too.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
So I said that with some kind of way with the cheese thing is the same thing that trumpet and jazz. No matter what nobody tells me, I hear it every time I hear a trumpeter in New Orleans play. I hear that connection.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say how it got to be there, but if you listen to, if you play the notes that a Big Chief sings, and then think about a trumpet, you're gonna hear it immediately. It's undeniable.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, Pops has Louis Armstrong, as we affectionately call him Pops. You know, a lot of people don't know Pops, but you know, for the people who don't know, Pops is Louis Armstrong. He has the song when he went to Africa and made that visit, and then he came back and had this song that had that kind of flavor. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of his stuff had that kind of thing, that call and response thing. I mean, he was the master of that, man. You know?
Oh yeah, well that was part of what all those guys did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Call and responses.
Yeah, that was part of the thing, man. I mean, you know. And then but that music, man, was very very instrumental. And I think in America we tend to move things so fast and we want microwave stuff so much that we don't actually go back and see the development of something, man, and really take it and develop it. You know,
Right.
so I think the things are still can be used from the past today. Not that we're trying to just, you know, recreate the past. That wasn't the case, of course. But like Nouveau Swing, that stuff is really relevant today.
Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised that a lot of the young musicians who are coming up, that's one of their reference points too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's wonderful to hear that. But I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna sing just a little bit of Shallow Water, and when I do the response, just think of a trumpet in New Orleans. If I go, say shallow water, oh my, say early that morning when the sun come up, shallow water, oh, the bars with the running one by one. So, so you hear the rhythm of it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But where else is that rhythm besides in the New Orleans trumpet from that era?
True.
Where else are those notes besides some of the soloists in New Orleans? I mean, I hear the direct. What I'm saying is, I hear the direct correlation.
Yeah.
But I also heard Lewis. He never talked about it, but I heard him sing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
I heard him sing it. So
yeah, he's amazing, man. I mean, it's still, you know, it should be required study for anybody. You know, any musician, you know, should be really into Louis Armstrong, because and especially playing, you know, improvised music, you should actually, you know, deal with Louis, man. That's really the case. You know.
Oh, yeah, you should deal with, I mean, as many of those guys as you can.
Oh, yeah.
Bechet was another one that, you know.
Oh, well, yeah. I was about to talk about Bechet. If you have any thoughts about Sidney Bechet.
Oh, yeah, he was, well, he said the same thing. It was in a different way that Bird was saying, that he said that he incorporated everything he heard to create the sound that he created. So, you know, you can hear the French opera, you can hear, you know, he specifically said, and they try to give him slack about it, but he said that his grandfather was a musician in Congo Square, and that one of the root sources of what he did with music is Congo Square. He actually said it, you know? And he talked about that was our connection back to Africa. And some of the older guys that I was around, they told me that this was our way, the music was our way to gain back everything that tried to take away from us. You know, it's about them taking your name away from you, the connection to who your family is, where you came from, in some places the music. So the music, there's one perspective that says playing this music is to make yourself whole from where you came from. So that was special. And Sidney Bechet also enunciated that a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes I think that's why he's not the big star he should be.
Yeah.
But that's another story. But
Yeah.
he left that for us to know and to have that perspective. So he's important because he was very bold for his time.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. Yeah, talk about us now. The next period, the quantum jazz. Talk about a little bit of that. Give us a little taste of what your thoughts are on that quantum jazz concept that you devised.
Yeah, well, that's looking at the quantum theory, which is really the study of what's natural, how the universe works, and I talked to Stefan, I can't remember his last name, a quantum physicist, and he said Crane was in the quantum physics as well in his music. So it just led me to see different elements of quantum theory that could be applied to music. And one of the things that you can understand readily when we talk about music, it's point A to point B. We don't think of it like that, but when you think of it in terms of that, then you see it's point A to point B, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have cadences, and they go to a place. They go from this place to that place.
Mm-hmm.
So you always, when you look at the paper, it's always going from this section to the end here. So and there, when you turn it around, you go back to the top and do the same process. So then I call it a two-dimensional way of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But then I understood about four-dimensional playing. So then I realized we could do that in music.
Mm-hmm.
And I started hearing how you can do that. And that means you can go in all directions at one time.
Right.
It's totally open.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I wrote the song Quantum Leap. But in that one, I just added more spaces to the music that we were leaving off.
Mm-hmm.
And I still have to get in the studio and work with some musicians on fine tuning those ideas. But we did get them down. And then I started, another theory, multiverses. So I'm working on the multiverse uh, concept now, which we should be releasing soon.
Okay.
There's just a lot of different things. If you just start reading about quantum theory and trying to understand it,
Mm-hmm.
that you can add to the concept of music. But the thing about Quantum Leap is I started thinking about ways you can move time around as well. And with that song, if you it sounds like a normal time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a lot of things you can do with time. Like if you go around an object, then it bends the time.
Yeah.
All kind of things that you can do with it.
Yeah. Displacement, that kind of thing. Accelerate.
Yeah.
It seems like it's like acceleration thing. It's just like everybody's in a certain plane, the way I hear it, especially on Quantum Leap, which is one of my favorite, one of a few of my favorite Donald Harrison cuts, so but I do hear that accelerando thing on the drums, and so that's very, very interesting, and what's played against that and just the layers of what's happening. So
Yeah, if you, what I was about to say, it sounds like it's just a normal thing. It doesn't sound like.
You're right. It's just yeah.
Yeah,
It sounds very natural. I mean, it's not anything. It's not anything really to be, you know, okay, I gotta get out my square root, my slide rule, or nothing. It ain't that kind of vibe. It really sounds natural. I mean, you know.
yeah. But the thing is, if you clap on 2 and 4 of that song, you're gonna see that it's at the time is actually morphing, like
Mm-hmm.
like time normally does.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so just get your hands, just listen to it and clap on 2 and 4, and you're
Uh-huh.
gonna it's gonna give you that just doing that gives you a revelation about what's going on. But you know that's also tied into what we talk about antiquity,
Right.
and it goes back to Africa. And even you know a lot of the old blues players, they
Mm-hmm.
they have that quality to what they're doing.
Yeah.
I played with some of the old blues players, and everything is open. There's no
Mm-hmm.
some of them. There's no rules for that kind of stuff.
Uh,
It's just this is gonna happen right now.
mm-hmm. Now, here's something that. Can you hear this? I don't know
Yeah,
if
I did hear it. Yeah.
I can play a little bit of this. So I want the people to hear a little bit of this. This is Quantum Leap by Donald Harrison. This is the concept we were talking about, just discussing. So I'm going to give a little bit of that so they can hear it. Yeah.
See, when you start clapping like that, you
Yeah,
feel it.
that's just, yeah, I just want to give people just an
Yeah.
idea of what's happening there, man. That's some tremendous playing there, man. I mean, that's something else, man. That truly is something else. And that beat is morphing, you know, or from the 2 and 4. It wants to gravitate somewhere else, but you know that 2 and 4 is really still constant, but it wants to go somewhere else. It feels like the gravity pull is somewhere else, you know. So,
That's you got it. That's
yeah,
go ahead, man.
yeah, the gravity, gravity. It's about gravity, man. That's really what it is, man. You know, because I mean, that is truly amazing, man. So, yeah, that those are the concepts. When we're talking with Donald Harrison, and his musical concepts devised over the course of his career, including New York Second Line. We talked about Nouveau Swing. Some of this stuff is still in process right now with some of the artists that are out here now, and we just, I mean, I just can't say enough about your energy and the way you delve into music, man.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a labor of love. And I know you love music just as much as me, so.
Oh yeah.
We're just students of the music, you know.
Yeah, I'm always a student, man. I'm a study. I have not gotten anything until I get it. You know,
right.
You know, that's how it is, man. But in terms of what I want to talk about is the culture of New Orleans and the Indian and the Mardi Gras phase of your development and recent chiefdom, I should say. You know? There you go. There he is. And I want to talk about that. And I just want to tell people that, you know, there was something that that Big Chief put out not too long ago. It was something backstage. I think it was Dr. John, Hurl and Riley, and a couple other people that I saw. It was very interesting. And I reshared it because I want people to know that this is not this ain't no game. This is not a game for people in New Orleans. You know, this is very serious. And all of that chanting was really meaningful, you know. And so for people who thought this was some kind of game, I just had to repost that. So I just want that was a very serious thing for us in New Orleans growing up. And now to this day. And we don't want that. We want to actually promote the culture. And we want a culture continuum. And I feel that, you know, in some ways, maybe our culture is being hijacked, you know. So talk to us about a little bit about that and what you think, because I hear a lot of people saying, "Oh man, we losing the culture, man. With it's slipping away, man, because you know post Katrina, especially." Talk to us a little bit about that.
I mean, you know, there's factions. Well, with the what I call Afro New Orleans culture, because it's secret. It's a secret culture. It really can't be hijacked. Because I remember I was talking to Chief of the Creole Wild West, Howard. I think he has a new group now, but anyway, he was telling the story about how he got into the culture. He went to a chief's house and he said he wanted to participate in the culture. So the chief said, yeah. And he let him stand outside the gate, come by. While he sat on the porch working on his stuff, he would have to stand outside the gate. So he was outside the gate for about 6 months, but he was diligent. He kept coming back. After 6 months, then he got to come inside the gate and watch him, not say too much, just watch. Then after about a year, he started talking to him about stuff. And then he had trust that this kid was the real deal. Not a kid, but you know, however old he was. I don't know how old he was. That he really loved the culture. So to get the secrets, you got to prove yourself. My father was a chief. I still had to prove myself. They have to know that you're not going to use this for gain, that you're not going to, because a long time ago, they knew if they told everything that was happening, that it wouldn't sustain itself from the inside.
Right.
Because every time an outside force comes to it. It's not just our culture, it's culture around the world. An outside force gets a leg up on it.
Mm-hmm.
They start making the rules without a true understanding of what it is that they're making rules for. And then they start telling the people who are keeping the continuum alive that they don't know what they're doing.
Ooh, yeah.
So
yeah,
that's why it's been secret.
mm-hmm.
And every day I still see the ideas of keeping the continuum alive
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of the young people that are coming up now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, for I guess the next 40 years, I think it's safe as far as that culture is.
Yeah.
Now, if you're talking about the second line culture, it's different people are coming into it now and doing it. But there's still a faction that remembers the old time ways, and they pass it on amongst each other. So that thread is still there in both cultures. Art Blakey used to say, once an idea is presented, it belongs to the world. But you have to give credit to the inventor. So hopefully that will take place. But there's also, there's a line that will continue. So, and that line will inform the next generations.
Right.
And you can't, what people have to understand, what they should understand, but maybe they don't, is that you can only tell your story. And to tell your story, and your story may be to interpret your way what another person is doing.
Right.
But when you tell that person, I can tell your story better than you, that's when you lose being real to me.
Yeah.
And I always tell people it's simple. You can tell me what you did this morning, right? I don't know what you did this morning. If you tell me what you did this morning, I still won't have the detail that you know about it. You know the room you were in. You woke up in this morning, and the color of the wall, what color the wall was. You know what you felt like. You know what you had on. There's no way that you can explain to me what you know without even thinking about it. So you have that story to tell. I don't have that story to tell. I can just interpret what you told me. That's your story.
Right.
So we have a story. So the best people to tell the story is the people who live it. That's what Bird was saying. You live that story. So you're going to always be the entity that has the best understanding of it.
Preach.
So if you want to think that you can tell my story better than me, that's on you. I can't stop you from doing that. But I can just feel sorry for you. That's all I can do.
Absolutely.
I feel sorry for people who have that need. Because I have no need to go to Norway and learn a little bit of Norwegian music and tell them that I know Norwegian music better than them. I don't have that need. So anybody who has that need, all I can do is feel sorry for them and know that they want to live something that they really can't show to the world in a logical fashion to me.
Right.
So what can you do?
That's amazing.
I just feel sorry for them.
That's the truth. So that brings my next question about, the monetization of our intellectual property. And we're talking about Afro-Indian, Afro-New Orleans culture, and as well as the music, period, across the board.
Right.
Monetization of that, and the people who don't get to benefit from that. You know what I'm saying? So talk a little bit about that if you have any thoughts on that.
Well, only thing I can say is we should support each other, because if we support certain things, we support hair products.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not putting anybody down. It's a beautiful thing to look your best, So we support a lot of things. But it's up to each of us to say, shout from the mountaintop about the things that are important, and why we should support them. And at that point, we just kind of spiritual. So pray or do whatever you do, chant, Buddhism, just be in touch with something of a higher source, or however you think of it, and just hope that your voice is heard by some people.
Right.
But if more of us do it, then the more chances we have for it to become something that is real, something that is normal, something that happens all the time. Right. So that's why I said that what you're doing now is needed. But in life, in the universe, we all live in different circles.
Right.
You have your family circle, you have the musicians that you play with, musicians that you talk to. We've played on certain occasions and talk about music. So we're in a circle, and we have musicians who may understand what we're doing, but we're never in that kind of circle with them. So
right.
We have to create circles and try to expand those circles while we support each other. So that's why I'm saying what you're doing is needed because you're creating another circle. Experiences and ideas. But we must always be mindful to not take on the ideas of people who try to tell us that they're better than us. We never need to be better than anybody. We just need to do what we do.
Do what you do.
And be true to it. And also be able to have a reverence for what other people do.
That's true.
Because without some of the other styles of music from all over the world, then we wouldn't have what we call jazz music and other forms of music. Because I always say, when we got here, we were inclusive. So jazz is inclusive. We included everything that we heard. And then from all that inclusion, we found an exclusive sound. Inclusion leads to exclusive. So that was always our concept, to include. But some people think that they're exclusive without inclusion.
Interesting.
So
I'm gonna think about that one.
That's on them.
With that, yeah,
that's on them. I can't tell a person what concept they have, but I noticed that some people have that concept. And
you have that thing. You see things through one lens. You see it all universally through one lens. And a lot of people, this is one thing that amazes me about you, is that you've always been that way. And there's only a few other people that I know that's out here. I mean, Herbie kind of sees it a little bit like that too. Herbie sees a lot of things throughout one lens. You know what I'm saying?
Quincy Jones.
Quincy Jones. That's another one. Yeah, that's another one. I mean, we can't name too many people. We cannot name too many
people. I can name Darrell Lavigne.
Yeah. Hey, man. I'm trying to do my best, man, to look at things and.
But that's more than you think. We just may not know about them because I speak to more people, and there's more than we realize. They just don't have the voice, and sometimes people are afraid, and sometimes I'm just to speak. But when you're trying to be fair and look at it through a lens of love and treating people like you want to be treated, it helps you to see a different way.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely, man. That's well said. And I want to get this story in because I just want to tell people how serious Big Chief Donald Harrison is when it comes to making the suits. We did a gig in South Africa together, and Big Chief had an extra suitcase. He had an extra suitcase. I said, "Hey, man, where you going with that suitcase, man? What you got in there?" He said, "Man, I'm sewing my suit for next year." I think it may have been September. He said, "I'm already behind." And you actually took that and you were sewing your beads from out of that, the feathers on and everything, the headdress, I think, and for that particular costume for that year, the outfit, and that was that's how I knew, it was serious, that was my first look at the seriousness of this,
Yeah, I mean, you have to be a chief. Well, once I came up with under, and a lot of these young guys are sewing it. They're, they're making some huge patches. I can't see how they do it, but they're making it happen. But you have to know all the parts of the game to get respect. For them to acknowledge you, you have to go through all the processes, and they have to know you made that.
Right.
It's your ideas, and that the greatest compliment is that you added to what was known. You added something to that. So when the other chiefs started telling me that I did my job, that I added things to it, to the culture. That was all I needed. Just like, with the music, when musicians of your caliber, some of the other great musicians, say that you have something that they relate to. That's all you can do. For me, because they created it. So the guys who created it say, "You're all right, kid."
Right.
And then you've done your job in that culture, and now it's your job to pass it on. To people who can carry it forth from a place of love.
Yeah, I remember the great South African guitarist Jimmy Dudley. He actually embraced you, man. He wanted you to play on stage with him, man. When we were in Port Elizabeth, South Africa, we were in Cape Town too. But I think it was in that New Year's gig. I think we did Port Elizabeth on the Indian Ocean side. That was so that you have a way to actually vacillate between worlds, and that's such a gift, man. And I see it, and it amazes me, and that's how I'd like to be like that, you know.
In my estimation, you are like that.
Yeah.
We're both striving, I think, for the same things, and
Yeah.
there are many of us like that. And I think that's the thing that's gonna bring forces together, where people can. At a certain point, I realized all of the stuff is connected. All the music is connected, and to look at it as one. But I think that's a lesson for humanity. The music is giving another lesson to humanity.
Right.
And we can bring that forth, you know. They talked about jazz being a music that brought disparate people together where they were hanging out. You know, I went to there's still a hardware store in Chicago that was around in the 20s, and it was a jazz club. So you know those Art Deco paintings that they had behind the stage. The guy kept it in the hardware store. So it's a special vibe when you see that, man. That you know that King Olive and all these cats played in these places, man. So I can't remember the name of the hardware store, but the guy has cards, like you can buy a little card and like the what do you call it, keychain. But he'll let if he knows you play jazz, especially if you're from New Orleans, he'll bring you back there. And he beams to show you it, and all those little even little things like that change. I brought Joe Dyson there to see it with him, and he was so floored, you know, just to see that and be connected.
Yeah.
In another way to music.
Yeah. Well, Big Chief, we're not going to take up any more of your time. We appreciate you coming on to Village Rising and for our inaugural discussion about culture. And this won't be the first time, and this won't be the only time we have you on. We certainly going to have you on, and we want you to keep us posted for any new music that's coming out. Where can people find you online?
Well, I have DonaldHarrison.com, and you know all the normal places like iTunes, Tidal, Spotify. You know, we got a new version of Watermelon Man that has like what I call a modern second line beat, the Dirty Dub and the Rebirth. So Joe Dyson put that Dirty Dozen on it.
With that dozen on it. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what that meant.
Yeah.
Because I realized that nobody in the modern jazz world had used that beat yet. So I'll send it to you. But it's on Spotify. It's doing pretty well. I'm surprised. In 2 months, I got like almost 70,000 streams on Spotify, which is huge for jazz, I think.
Yeah, very.
Yeah. So it's kind of viral on its own. And another aspect that we have in New Orleans, we forgot to talk about. I know I'm making this too long, but maybe we can edit this in.
No. Go right ahead.
Is that we dance to jazz.
Boom.
That connection to the music is gone. So I've been trying to bring that back forever.
I did see that you were dealing with that dancing the jazz again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that's what Norma Miller, who was a yearly I guess artist in residence at the jazz camp in New Orleans. She was the last surviving member of the Savoy ballroom dancers, and she just recently passed away last year. I think, yeah, about a year ago. And she said that was missing from the music. The dance was missing in the music. And when she danced with Frankie Manning, and it was all in the Ken Burns thing. When she danced, and she'll tell you, she would have told you herself that when she danced with Frankie Manning, I mean, to hear that Chick Webb band blowing all the way out the street, man, and it was just such a powerful thing for her that she had no choice but to dance.
But this new single, I'm calling it Danceable Jazz.
Mm-hmm.
Because we need to have that faction back into the music.
Mm-hmm.
And we all can do like maybe one song, this is a dance song. You know, you can do it, like we said, the circles. Bring it back. So we start bringing it back, and it becomes a normal thing again. If all of us do it, you know. But I've been trying to do this for 20 years, and I'm almost positive it's the time now.
Yeah.
You know, because we are missing elements that we took out for whatever reason, and there's no reason to take it out.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll have the young kids will be doing it too. I'd love to see everybody do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is my dance music.
Mm-hmm.
This is me stretching the music in a different way. This is whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason to be one thing. John Coltrane wasn't one thing.
Right.
Miles Davis wasn't one thing.
He certainly wasn't. No,
Tony Parker wasn't one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Dizzy Gillespie wasn't one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Sidney Bechet wasn't one thing.
Yeah.
So what is? I mean, I'm not putting nobody down for being one thing. I hate to do that, so sometimes I have to check myself. I don't want to put anybody down.
Of course.
We can also have this idea that you can be in different worlds at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But when John Coltrane did the record with Duke Ellington, he was also making records that were stretching to the cosmos at the same time. So
yeah,
you don't have to be one thing because somebody told you that. You can be what you want to be.
Right.
And if you love it, do it.
Yeah, I think they're embracing that now more and more. Everything is everything.
Yeah.
That when we were coming up, labels mattered. And record labels, per se, I say that record labels were guiding a lot of people into those realms of a box, putting you in a box. And you had to do this kind of record, you had to do that kind of record. But now, since it's, I say this is the time of everything is everything. So that's what it is. So you might come up with one thing, this cut, and then the next cut, it might reverse gear,
Right. Just play what you love.
Yeah.
You're talking about labels. When I was with a label that made a big hit for me, I said, well, it was what they call smooth jazz.
Mm-hmm.
I call it instrumental pop.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever they want to call it, it's fine with me. But then
I have that record.
The record became really popular. It was playing all over the radio. I was very happy about that.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, some of the jazz critics would put me down.
Mm-hmm. But it was a great record, man. It was a great record. I
was fine with that. But the label wouldn't let me. I wanted to do it. The next record I wanted to do was a straight ahead record.
Mm-hmm.
So they wouldn't let me do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I waited the label out for 2 years so I could get free.
Right.
They let me go after 2 years of me not, not showing up to the studio, not doing nothing. And then there was nothing in the contract said you have to be here at this date. Anyway, I shouldn't even be telling this, but then I signed with basically a major label at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did some straight ahead music,
Mm-hmm.
a different kind of straight ahead music.
Right.
And that record, the first record, got on the radio, and it stayed on the radio, acoustic jazz, for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like unheard of that they play. You know, shelf life of a jazz record is like 2 months on the radio.
Absolutely.
And it was most requested, like a year. It was the most, like for a whole year, was the most requested
Mm-hmm.
record on a lot of radio stations. So then I told the label, okay, I want to do, and this was in my contract, I want to do a smooth jazz record, and I come back. They're like, no, you got to stick with straight ahead now. And they told me, if you play all those styles of music, it's going to be the kiss of death.
Oh man! Wow.
I said, I'm fighting for musicians' freedom, and this was in the '90s. So
Yeah.
I sort of fell on the sword that, well, at that I did make another straight ahead record come out,
Mm-hmm.
but then once I again, you know, got away from the deal, and then I said, I'm stay out there by myself, unless they give me one off, and I'm gonna do what I want to do.
Right.
From that point on, I've been, you know, just saving my nickels and wanting to make the music I want to make any kind of way I want to make it.
Yeah, man.
So now, after fighting through all of that stuff, it's good to see. I'm talking about the point that everything is everything now.
Yeah.
I want to further fight. You know, in the beginning, we talked about how the music is about just freedom to transcend. So I want to. Right. It's not a big thing. This guy want to play hip hop on this record, then he want to play some rock and roll, and if people come along with him, even if they don't come along, he happy. You know, maybe you don't want to invest in him anymore. I understand that it's your label, because he's not selling the product, not making your money back. I understand business. I have no problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
But if all of it's hitting and you get your money back, then I don't get that.
Yeah.
So we're gonna fight.
You know, a lot of people, man, really don't know, and I'm gonna say this. A lot of people don't know that you made a free jazz record with the Don Pullen quartet.
Right.
Yeah. And Don Pullen was definitely beloved avant-garde pianist. But I mean, he can swing his butt off too as well. So I mean, you know, either way, it was good. It was all good with me.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that Don Pullen could play bebop too.
Yeah.
I used to play at one of the clubs in New York a lot during one period, and he would always come down and play some bop with me.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So he was multifaceted.
Right.
And then I remember he saw the record Indian Blues, and then he started dealing with Native American music. So, you know, I learned some stuff from playing free jazz. But when I went to New York, when Art Blakey hired me, at that time I was rehearsing with Cecil Taylor to join his band.
Wow.
But I decided to go with Art.
Mm-hmm.
Cecil had me rehearsing at his house to join his group.
Yeah.
So I have a connection to a different way of playing as well, in that kind of realm. And also, you know, I did the records, Eric Dolphy and Booker Little.
Yeah.
With Terrence. So it's another kind of sound.
Yeah.
And then I used to practice with Ornette Coleman.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and some of the stuff I wish I had written down. Mm-hmm. For some reason, I can't remember it anymore.
Yeah, Ornette boy. Oh, man. Yeah, man. Crazy, man. Crazy, bad, man. Just,
yeah.
Yes.
All those great musicians, man. All kinds of lessons. But I was doing too much when I was getting to the stuff that Arnett was telling me. And sometimes I try to ask some of the guys who are around. I don't know if he told them because they look at me like I'm crazy when I say it. I know one thing he told me, that music is in 3 keys. So then he gave me the 3 keys. And then I lost the paper and I forgot what they were.
Wow.
So I've been trying to figure that forever, man, what he meant by that. And trying to listen to him play. But if higher power wants me to figure it out, I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to ask Chris Walker. He lives here. He used to play with the Primetime Band, the bass
Yeah,
yeah.
That was like one of his prime.
3 keys to me.
But he didn't explain it. He didn't say.
Mm-hmm.
He just told me this is 3 keys. Then one day he gave me the 3 keys.
Man, Arnett was out, boy. Yeah. It's great, man. Some great times, man. That was the times in New York. New York certainly is not like it used to be. I tell the young cats that today is certainly not like it used to be when you guys were going up there and living there actually and playing there, on a regular basis, man. It was a real vibrant time in the Naked City, man. Yeah.
But the thing, back then, you had to go through those guys, which was good.
Mm-hmm.
And they were in charge of music.
Yeah.
Really, the labels weren't in charge of the music; it was the musicians.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And those times, Art was the godfather.
Yeah.
He was like the guy who was the de facto person in charge.
Yeah, he was.
Trust me, everybody listened to Art. When he spoke, that was like, that's it. Everybody.
Yeah.
He was a cat, man, and there was no messing around. But
that's where
we don't have those bosses no more. I remember, sometimes you go in the Vanguard,
mm-hmm.
and Miles would be sitting there, Art, maybe going to listen to McCoy, but all these great musicians would be sitting in the house. And then you go in the back there, kitchen, and you'd be in a room. First of all, you'd be fortunate to be in a room with them.
Mm-hmm.
But the second thing is you didn't say nothing. You just listened, man.
Right.
Trying to get as much as you could.
Right.
You was with the guys who made it up. They let you come in a room with them.
Yeah.
So you was a lucky dude, man.
Yeah, you were very lucky, man, to get with them, man. And anytime to stick with those cats, man.
Yeah, just all the stories, how they interacted, all that stuff. Gets you excited. But I'm hoping that one day we can get back to that.
I would love to get back to that, man. I tell the young cats now, man, it's not like it used to be, man. It's just, the older guys used to, pass down, like I said earlier, pass down the music and the knowledge, not just about music, but about life, man. Yeah. It was just
all interconnected, man.
Yeah, definitely, man. Well, man, we want to thank you once again, Big Chief, for hanging with us, man, and going OT with us, man. We just didn't want to take up too much of your time, but
it's fun talking to you, Darrell.
Oh man, hey man, we could do this all day, man.
Yeah,
all day, man, because the knowledge is what's happening, and I am a culture vulture, so definitely great talking to you. And we'd like to thank everybody for tuning into the Village Rising broadcast today, culture with Big Chief Donald Harrison. And we're going to be doing this maybe once a month with different people, but we're certain to have Big Chief back here again. So thank you again, once again, Big Chief. Thanks a lot and have a great day.
And thank you for having me, and you have a wonderful day as well. All the best to everybody.
All right. Thanks.